is sunshine.
So we finished at 4 o'clock after about 6 hours, so the idea I'm going to be able to summarise all of that is it's not going to happen. So these are some headlines, just to tell you what you've referred to. It links back to the 4 stages I talked about before: change, landscape, mindset, persuasion. But one of the key tasks is we've got lots of ideas, but trying to kind of crystallise them, crunch them down, make sense of them so we can communicate them easily is the real challenge. So we were exploring questions like, how is social care working when it's doing what we want it to do? What is national and local government doing when it's doing what we want it to do? What are the main obstacles to our ideas and approaches moving from the margins to the main build on? And one really key exercise. What are the main arguments that are made against our ideas, who's making them and why, and our ability to understand that and be able to respond to those arguments effectively. Just a kind of headline summary in terms of the change people were seeking, the kind of vision of social care working in the way that we would like it to. Somebody came up with a really nice metaphor of it being like invisible scaffolding. That it should just be there, it should just be allowing us to lead the lives that we want to lead. It shouldn't be dominating us, it shouldn't be colonising our lives. It's part of the scaffolding that allows us to live the lives we wish to. That it should be, this picks up on points Anna and Clinton have made, it's something that's done with and by people, it's not done to people. That's fundamental, I think, to our view of the world. It's something that connects us to each other, it's a binding agent, it invests in our relationships. It's not there to disrupt them or take them over or replace them. It's about building them, it's about undergirding them, strengthening them. The key thing that's rarely, I think, talked about or part of the messaging of social care is the idea of social care transporting us. It's Anna's point, people shouldn't be limited by their social care support. Social care support, or whatever we call it, should be taking people from one life situation to a better one, ultimately. But the narrative tends to position social care as an end in itself, but it doesn't do anything. And very often it's kind of trapped in a debate. It's about ageist, about older people, about managing decline and so on, rather than the idea of human development and growth. So that was key. That it should bring joy. I love seeing those slides from Manchester because there's just lots of laughter on them. So much of the imagery of social care, there is no joy in it whatsoever. It's all kind of, there's this pipeline of misery. But people want joy, they want happiness, and that's got to be there. It's about love, we shouldn't be afraid of that. It's about love and relationships. It's about nurturing people's gifts and talents and allowing people to grow and be the best of themselves. It's about belonging. People's right to be in the world, be part of the world. The idea of people knowing best and that any support should be on tap rather than on top, absolutely crucial. It's not about personal care, it's about a life and having a life, and focus on the results of the lives that people are living. One interesting thing that came up was that there's a lot of debate at the minute about professionalising the care workforce. And actually there was a counter to that here, that it wasn't about seeking somebody with care skills, that it could be much more about matching people with shared interests to work together. And a very different kind of way of thinking about how personal assistance works to how care works in terms of the paradigm that's there. Other ideas and buzzwords, it's about focusing on strengths rather than deficits, but that's not as kind of glib as it sounds. One of the really challenging things that people identified was how we might sit and talk about strength-based approaches and focusing on what people can do, but anyone who's encountered the social care system knows the only way they can access and be deemed eligible is to advertise all the things they can't do and all their deficits and all their problems. And until we're able to change that, we're always going to have this tension and this difficulty. It's about shifting the debate from the costs of social care to its value, to actually what it does for society and for individuals, how it changes lives, and about taking both the battle out of social care and the fear that I think a lot of people feel. People should approach social care thinking it's going to improve their lives, aid their lives, allow them to have the life they want. Our sense is many people approach it with trepidation, thinking we're going to have to give a lot of things away, and that's going to be absolutely key, the psychology of that. Now, this is where I can't really do justice today, but just some of the priority areas that people identified as needing change to reach some of those points. One was we needed to focus first less on social care as a system and more on people, place and communities as our starting point. It's kind of Panavision, really. And that social care is this one part of the public and social infrastructure that shapes our opportunities to lead the lives that we want to lead. We need to have this conversation in policy terms, so we need to kind of move out of this kind of silo, but in messaging terms as well. The vision I shared with you before is not something that's bound by social care, it's about how we're all able to live our day-to-day lives. But we have to also then think beyond. So people said, you know, if you take the stuff at the minute around social prescribing, for example, in the debate there, that's great on lots of levels. But, and the debate about social care, though, is all about the lack of funding. But we also know something that's happened over the last decade is disinvestment in community and social infrastructure. So unless we're focusing on that wider social infrastructure that changes our lives, we won't realise our vision. So we have to think in broader terms about housing, about local economic policy, about arts and culture, the whole kind of gamut really, to sort of take that forward. It certainly has to be within our field of vision. General public perceptions. People, unprompted really, did believe that public attitudes are an obstacle to change. And that was uniform across the groups. Now we have to work out, you know, the public's a big thing, we have to work out which public audiences, which segments of the public that we particularly need to reach. But there was a sense that public thinking about social care is an obstacle to moving social care to where we need to get to. So it kind of justified the sense of doing this work. People, and also at the level of politics, but also at the level of individuals, you know, people don't approach their GP or the NHS with the same kind of trepidation, sense of fear that they might approach social services, for example. So there's a deep psychological thing that we have to try and attend to in this narrative work. There was a real sense that we needed to learn from other fields, and people were particularly struck by the way young people were engaging so much with climate action. Are there opportunities to engage with young people to actually move this debate out of this box where it just seems to be about older people at the end of their lives, where it becomes a much more kind of area of universal concern, and we harness those movements for change. There needed to be much more representation of lived experience amongst decision makers at local and national government level. Government needs to be prepared to listen more and to collaborate more. Now we're making some inroads there, but it's felt to me like we've slipped backwards from that, from some of the progress we were making in the late 2000s. We need to put that right back on the agenda. And as Jenny, who's not here now, was saying earlier, this whole process of moving away from the idea that there is a sector and professionals here and there are people requiring support over there to something that is much more collaborative, much more about everyone in it together and how we achieve that. We really need more of an appetite for trial and error, for risk and for innovation, learning from things not working rather than regarding them as just failure. That seems to be something that's too absent from this, and some of the ideas we have don't get off the ground because there's a nervousness about investing in them, about seeing whether or not they work. So we've talked potentially about trying to see if we can persuade government or some other body to carve out money for innovation, to actually create that space for that to happen rather than expect it just to happen within very risk-averse, often very risk-averse local council structures and politics. And lastly, and it's back to the point that Martin's already made, we have to build on good policies. We have to emphasise the ideas and approaches that exemplify what it is we want to see move from the margins to the mainstream. And we need to learn how we can spread and grow them sustainably. That's got to be an absolute key thing. There was lots more. I've got piles of flip chart paper to go through, but those were just some of the headlines that came out of it. I hope that was fair to those that were there as a quick summary.
Thanks, Neil. So, so Clinton, I think you're going to...
Bring me sunshine